5th September is marked as the World Pharmacists Day. Today I'll be speaking with the President of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Mr. Samuel Donko, who will explain to us why pharmacists need to be celebrated and then their impact and contribution to the vaccine production in Ghana. Welcome, Mr. Samuel Donko.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So let's start with your day, the World Pharmacists Day. Why at all should pharmacists be celebrated?
Thank you. Very interesting question. I think it comes from the global body, that's global body of pharmacists, which we call FIP, Federation of International Pharmacists. In the year 2009, the Council of the Federation of Pharmacists met and declared this day as a day to celebrate pharmacists. And WHO agreed to it, and other recognized international bodies all accepted it, that pharmacists actually need a day. And that day also will be a day for us to take stock of our activities, our service to humanity, and all the good things that pharmacists before our generation have done, and those of our generation will do, and even future generation pharmacists would come and do.
How would you say the sector is doing, taking into consideration COVID and all other economic factors?
Well, taking into consideration COVID, I think I would say that our sector definitely has been affected like all other sectors of the economy. We've also had our fair share of it. But the truth of the matter is that at the time when the nation was even under lockdown, we were still at work trying to attend to patients. So indeed, there's been a lot of pressure on pharmacists to be at the forefront to help in the current situation that we find ourselves, which is COVID-19 pandemic. The pharmacists are involved in the COVID-19 treatment centers. Pharmacists are involved in the community pharmacy, trying to put a lot of education out there. And even the prevention part, what kind of food supplements should these patients be taking, individuals be taking to boost their immune system? What do they need to do so that even when they get a COVID infection, the condition will not be that severe? As much as possible, trying to help reduce mortality and morbidity associated with the COVID disease. This we have done very well. I know a number of pharmacists who have also taken it upon themselves to even give lectures at the various churches, all to let people know much about it, understand what COVID is, what they can do in such a way that even if they get it, the impact will be minimized. So that has been our role, to contribute to the overall well-being of Ghanaians in the midst of all this COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, so data shows that about only 3% Africans are vaccinated. Let's start with what you think of this data.
That is true. But the first thing we need to know about it is that it is not the making of Africans, it is not the making of people like us, pharmacists in Ghana. Where were the medicines discovered? Where did the clinical trials happen? The countries that discovered the medicines wanted to use it in their home country. There's the same charity begins at home. Why export medicines when you have your people? And the production, one thing we need to understand, that to go the phase, what you go through to produce a lot, or what we call a batch of a vaccine, it takes quite a long time, sometimes 2 weeks to even a month to be able to get the production cycle through. So you cannot turn out vaccines the way you would want to produce paracetamol tablets, or maybe produce amoxicillin capsules. You can't do the same. So this one is really a sophisticated field of science, which we call the biologicals, and therefore production has been an issue, supply has been an issue. And Americans and the United Kingdom and those countries that have the vaccines decided that they want to focus on their own first. After their citizens have been vaccinated, they will then make them available to the other parts of the world. And that is why now we've started getting the vaccines coming in, trickling in into Africa. Remember, clinical trials were not even done in Africa. At the time there was an Ebola outbreak that we wanted to have a clinical trial in Ghana. If you quite remember the hula balloon, what happened? Where Ghanaians said, no, we won't allow it to be used as experiment. We don't want the clinical trials to happen. So some countries allowed themselves to be used for these clinical trials. They saw it and they allowed it and it happened. So once they get the vaccines, they have the right to also use it for the first time.
Talking about countries producing their own vaccines and using it for their people before it comes to other parts. You know, we took our vaccines from India And some countries have put it that countries with Indian vaccine, Covishield, should not be allowed into their countries. What do you make of this?
Let me also put things in proper perspective here. The vaccines are not manufactured by the countries, so nobody should make a mistake to think that UK went into manufacturing of vaccines in the United States. Rather, pharmaceutical companies in these countries developed the vaccines, but they had the support of their government. Government put in a lot of resources because they saw it as a national emergency or a national security threat, where they need to put a lot of resources behind it, and that helped accelerate it and bring the vaccines out. So this is not a state issue. Apart from the state, these are companies. Some of the companies also give licenses out. So the Covishield is actually an AstraZeneca vaccine, but that was done in India, was manufactured by the Serum Institute of India. Unfortunately, some countries decided to say that these vaccines will not be allowed. But as we speak now, we know that the directive has come out clear that today, United Kingdom, if you took the double AstraZeneca vaccine in Ghana, it would be accepted. So I think some of these issues are advocacy. They need to be convinced that indeed the vaccines we took, the standards are comparable to that of AstraZeneca in the United Kingdom. But I also read somewhere that it is not about these vaccines. Maybe it is about the issue of trust. That when you show them your card that you've taken the vaccines in Africa, you can pay money to get anything. So that was not really, that's the key issue. That you may not have even vaccinated, but you can get the card to go out there. Not being sure whether we have a very strict administration of these vaccines to ensure that only those who have taken the vaccines really get the cards. I'm sure that is why initially they went by that route, to ensure that we will not pass it unless we take vaccines from their countries.
Okay.
But these issues are being resolved. I believe that talking behind the scenes, doing advocacy with these countries.
The British Council had released a press release today. Let's talk about the committee set by President for the COVID-19 vaccine manufacturing. They indicated that we'll need about $200 million to start vaccine production in Ghana. How is this going?
I wouldn't be able to hold brief for the committee, but the whole thing I want to say about it, that is a good initiative from the President of Ghana. There's a presidential commission taking the bold initiative that we should have a vaccine manufacturing plant. I like the bit that we are not setting up a plant to manufacture COVID-19 vaccines, but a vaccine manufacturing plant, which means that this plant can manufacture other vaccines. So that's the good thing about it. So we take advantage of this situation and get a plan for COVID vaccines, get a plan for vaccine manufacturing, so that in future, when we want to use it to produce other vaccines, we'll be able to adapt or make the changes to produce other vaccines. So it's a very laudable idea, and we hope that it will come to fruition soon. The 200 million mentioned, that I also believe I cannot speak to it, but in our own estimation, it could be more, it could be less. This is just an estimate. What level of plan do you want to set up? What millions of doses do you want to produce in a year? It all depends on the capacity. If your capacity, for example, you're looking at, we want to produce 10 million doses of vaccines in a year, you may need a smaller capacity. But if you are producing with the intention of even exporting, that means you're looking at a plant with maybe a facility, with a production facility of maybe 50 million doses, beyond even the population of the Ghana population. Then you need to spend more and put up a bigger plan. Ghana is uniquely positioned to be able to produce and send to other African countries. So probably the size of the plant may be good enough beyond that of Ghana. What someone would say that we need to be aspirational. We need to think beyond Ghana. Probably that is what is happening. Good news, what I can say about the vaccine now, that 3 pharmacists belonging to Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, pharmacist Ernest Bediako Sampo of NS Chemist, pharmacist Kufin Siampoku of Kina Pharma, and pharmacist Dr. Jemfi of Dan Adams Pharmaceuticals. These 3 pharmacists, eminent pharmacists, are coming together in what we call DEC, to be able to set up and do the manufacturing. And I think if it happens, it will be one of the best collaborations I've ever seen. 3 indigenous pharmacists in Ghana coming together to set up a vaccine manufacturing plant under the government initiative. If government gives them the resources and the needed funding and the support, it will happen. And that I'm proud to say that yes, pharmacists in Ghana are leading the way now.
But do you think Ghana, we are prepared to make our own vaccines and to accept our own vaccines, taking into consideration that a lot of Ghanaians think that made in Ghana goods or stuff are usually not up to expectations?
Let me be brutally frank. We cannot start our own vaccines just like that. How are you going to start it? The best thing we can do is to get other vaccine manufacturers to sign contracts with them, for them to be able to come and do the manufacturing here, because we haven't done we've not gone through all the phases, the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, for the product to come out, all the clinical trials. At this stage, if you want to produce the vaccines, it may be a contract with AstraZeneca, it may be a contract with Pfizer, a contract with Moderna. They will subcontract it, they would sign an agreement with you that they will do technology transfer for you to be able to do. And that means that they would come in what we usually call the master cell or the master plant, where they'll bring the entire culture into the country. Then you do the various inoculations and technical things that you do. You have your bioreactors there to do the amplifications. Then afterwards, you do other things, that centrifugation and others. And a whole lot of processes will happen in vaccine production. So even if we decide to do it, it's not something that we are going to start from phase 1, where we are now going to start the whole process. We will definitely have to partner with some international organizations. Royalties will come in, intellectual properties will come in, all those agreements will have to be signed. So we don't know. I am not privy to it because I'm not on the committee. But for all you know, it could be an AstraZeneca vaccine. It could be a Pfizer version of vaccine, like it is being done in serum. It is being done in India, where we know it's AstraZeneca. We know Johnson & Johnson is doing it in South Africa. So these are the things that we expect to happen. Some of these multinational organizations will bring the expertise to bear and make sure that the right agreements are signed. Then we produce the vaccine. So it can be done. Once we go around those paperwork, we should be able to do it.
Now, Ghana soon be a vaccine manufacturing country. What does this mean for pharmaceutical companies in Ghana?
It means we have arrived, because it means that we have moved into biologicals. And to biological production simply means they are proteins, or indirectly what we talk about as microorganisms, that you are going to subject them to culture and a whole lot of things. The level of sophistication and the level of quality assurance measures you put in place, very, very high. So once we get to that level, it means that the Ghana pharmaceutical industry has really gotten to the top notch. Whether we would even label it 5-star or 6-star, I don't know, but that would be great, because we would have what we call a biological plant in the country, and that would be good news. But luckily for us, we have a very good FDA, Food and Drugs Authority, that would ensure that the right things are done, the right qualities are put in place for us to pass through. We also know that we have very good pharmacists, industrial pharmacists, and I believe in the Industrial Pharmacists Association of Ghana that they will be able to meet the expectation when the need arises for them to be able to support in the vaccine production. But that notwithstanding, some part of the funds should be made available for us to train more pharmacists in the area of quality assurance, in the area of manufacturing, because we need to improve capacity building.
Can you explain how the private sector is playing a role in all this?
I'm sure we've all heard PPP, public-private partnership. So if it's happening, then it is happening in the framework of PPP. Government will give you the enabling environment. Government will give you the funds. These funds will not be for free. They will be loans, but probably at a very low interest rate, a bit of cushioning, and maybe a bit of moratorium for you to pay, knowing that this is a national need that you are doing. You are not doing purely for commercial purposes. There will be a time that the commercial aspect may come in, but initially it will be a service to the country. And therefore, government would have to government would have to support them. And I'm sure you very much agree with me that it's not every business that the government should try to do itself. I would believe that PPP here is better than government saying we want to set up our own pharmaceutical plants and produce vaccines. I don't think we'll get the efficiency that is needed. NS Chemists, Dan Adams Kina Pharma are companies that are already doing very well in the field of manufacturing, and they are the best to be if they come together to be able to deliver this for us.
How has COVID impacted you? Could be collectively or as individual pharmacists under the society? I think
collectively, pharmacists have been hit in the sense that we had situations where due to COVID, API prices went up. API is active pharmaceutical ingredients. For whatever reason, during COVID, some of them went as high as 3 times. So all of a sudden you realize that some products, the prices have just gone up. Sometimes the products you cannot even get. When this happens, what happens is that you will need to resource yourself, because your capital base, if you need 100,000 Ghana cedis to maintain your stock, or 200,000 Ghana cedis to maintain a certain decent level of stock to attend to your clients, with COVID-19 coming, you need to look for resources because prices have gone beyond the roof. And all that, meaning that the pharmacists will have to start readjusting their stocks. We also have to look at where do we put our resources now. And a few other challenges we have gone through during this phase. And I wish that we had more support, but the support did not really come the way we expected. It isn't just the community pharmacy, even the importers and wholesalers also suffered it. We also had manufacturing companies that even had to dedicate some part of their plant to produce hand sanitizers and others. These were plants that were used to manufacture other things, but as a result of COVID-19, they had to shut production of certain products to produce hand sanitizers for the citizens. So all these were challenges that we face as an industry. But we believe that it's part of the dynamics of change. That's one thing that we all know in the world, that change is always constant. It's happened. We now have to brave the storm and see what we can do going forward.
Talk of producing sanitizers. The advent of COVID came about with a spike in the prices of PPEs, sanitizers, and the rest. Now the prices are lower. I remember that when the Delta variant came and it was rampant, like everybody was scared about it, the prices of PPEs went up again.
Okay.
What is regulating all this?
My simple answer to this is panic buying. 1, 2, economics, demand and supply. I will take my community pharmacy, my own pharmacy. In just a day, all the hand sanitizers were off the shelf. You stocked, you know that people were coming to pick. And you even decide to regulate that when you come, please think of others. So pick one. Maximum, we were rationing. Somebody comes to say you give 2, you give 2, you give 3. You try your best, but it will still move. You don't know how they do it. I remember something funny happened when the news came that hydrogen peroxide was even beneficial. That same day, all the hydrogen peroxide we had in the pharmacy was gone. People moved from pharmacy to pick all the hydrogen peroxide just to increase the price to sell. It's not that they were picking in them home, but they said that no, hydrogen peroxide is good enough. They pick their vehicles, buying all that, and immediately you take the stocks out and you are holding stocks. The first you do, you want, oh, I'm looking for hydrogen peroxide. The next time you have the price has gone up. So panic buying is a contributing factor. The second one is people demand and supply. People try to take advantage of the situation and do all sorts of business. But what I like about it is that these things are usually temporary. It happens, and after a while, they always settle down. The prices will come down, it will settle, it will normalize, especially when more companies or individuals go into the production. And that is what I like about a number of pharmacists. I know so many pharmacists that immediately responded to it by going into production of hand sanitizers to bring the situation to normal.
Okay, going forward, what should we expect from Pharmaceutical Society?
Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. I think Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, you should expect us to be engaging more with the public. You see that we'll be trying to do more communication with public. We will try to enlighten the public more for them to know the need for them to always look for their pharmacists. Look for the pharmacists, ask for your pharmacist is important. And every individual in this country should have a pharmacist. You should be able to be proud to say that this man is my pharmacist, this lady is my pharmacist, kind of concept. Any medicine you hold that you want to take, be able to make that call or see your pharmacist. Be sure that it is safe. Be sure that you are taking it at the right dose. And you are taking it at the right frequency. The interval is also important. Be sure that you'll be able to report any adverse event you notice when you take medicines at the right time. So we expect the general public to get closer to their pharmacists, and that's one of the things we will try to do. We will take pharmacy closer to the people. We will want to demystify pharmacy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Donko, for making time today for us to speak about the pharmaceutical industry and then how COVID is affecting your operations and all that. So that's it. You heard Mr. Donko. Get a pharmacist. Anyone out there, you need to have your own pharmacist. Someone you can talk to, someone you can ask what prescription you should follow and all that.